What is up, everyone? It is your man on fire mentor, David Mailer. As always, it's an honor and it is a privilege to be here with my fellow brothers. All right, let us dive into the center of the fire, right? Some men fear the fire and some men will become the fire. So let's dive into the center of the fire and get into today's topic, which is resilience in tough times. And there's a saying out there that a lot of us men grew up with. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. What does this mean? It means that life will keep happening. And we cannot obviously always control what is going to happen in our external world. We can't control what's happening with our country, with our government, with the economy, with the weather, with the stock market, with the real estate market. We don't have control over these things. So there will always be tough times as a man. There will be tough times to face in a personal area of your life, you know, whether it's possible separation or facing divorce. There will always be what is called tough times. And the question is, are you resilient during these times? How do you handle what's happening in life? You know, most men, they say, I want freedom. I want fulfillment. And if you really are honest with yourself, what that means to most men is, I just want a headache-free, problem-free life. I want no chaos, and I want smooth sailing, and I want ease, and I want comfort, and I just want everyone to get along, and that's what I want. And that to me is freedom, and that to me is fulfillment. And I am here to dispel that myth. I'm here to dispel that illusion. There is no such thing. There is no such thing. And what there is your ability to be able to navigate, your ability to be able to be with whatever is happening in your life. So whether things are amazing or whether things are crappy, really is in relationship to who are you during these times. What is the state of your beingness? Because that will have a louder say over how you're experiencing your circumstance. You are the experiencer, having experiences, and based on where you're at in your own personal growth, you are interpreting your experience and you are most likely labeling it as good or bad, tough or easy. I like it, I don't like it. Therefore, you are a product of your external environment, meaning you are pulled, you are swayed, you are manipulated by, you are controlled by things outside of yourself. Now, while you can't control those things, what do you have control over? And what you ultimately will have control over is, who are you being in the face of everything that's happening around you? So if the economy is crashing, if you're having some struggles in your business, who are you? Who are you within all of this? What is the state of your beingness? Are you down? Are you frustrated? Are you depressed? Are you hiding? Are you a victim? Are you angry? Or are you seeing this as opportunity? Are you seeing this as an invitation to grow? Are you seeing this as an invitation to up-level? Are you seeing this as an invitation to become more adaptable, more resilient, overcome, improvise? For those of you that saw Heartbreak Ridge, Gunny Highway, Clint Eastwood, great film. Main saying, improvise, overcome, and adapt. Because you don't know what life is going to bring to you. The only thing you can know is who I'm going to be in the face of all that. Now the problem is, what's the problem? What's the problem, David? I'm going to tell you the problem. In the meantime, I'm looking for the switch to turn off my heater because, man, it's hot. So give me a second, guys. Give me a second. I'm looking for the switch. Where is it? All right. Clearly it's, oh, I figured it out. Here we go. I put it in the box, which of course I told myself I'd remember, which I did. And here it is. We're going to turn it off. Almost. Apologies, guys. This heater, you see that? I told you, some men fear the fire, some men become the fire. Sometimes I take it a little too literal, and it gets super hot. But what I do, I improvise. I overcame and I adapted, and I turned it off. So what were we saying? We're saying that the only thing that you could actually have control over is your state of beingness. So you're either going to be the victim of your circumstance, you're going to be pissed off, you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be angry, you're going to hide, you're going to contract, you're going to shrink, you're going to say, isn't this horrible? Can you believe that this is happening? But somebody else, maybe your neighbor, maybe a friend of yours, maybe a teacher of yours, a mentor of yours, is saying, isn't this amazing? Isn't this an awesome opportunity? Isn't this an opportunity to triumph, to be resilient, to conquer, to up-level, to change how I'm showing up? Isn't this an opportunity to be more hungry to grow? Or you might be somebody that says, wow, can you believe all of this is happening? Can you see the synchronicity in this? Can you see the magic in this? Can you see the divine timing in this? Can you see God's hand in this? Could you see how this is just the universe's way of restructuring and reorganizing everything so that we could all grow and we could all come into a place of being in our hearts? I mean, this is the same situation, the same circumstance, the same event, but yet you have people that are experiencing the experience differently. How is that possible? Put it in the chat. How is that possible? How is that possible? In the meantime, if you feel so inclined, I would love it if you smash up that like key and throw me some fire signs. No pressure. It's an invitation. But if you are getting value out of the content, how it helps the Facebook and the other algorithms and for more men to be able to see this type of content is by you hitting like and you throwing me some fire signs and some comments. So how is this possible? How is it that we could all be exposed to the same circumstance, situation, and events, but yet have a completely different experience in it? How is it possible that some of us are resilient and some of us are falling apart? How is it possible that some of us are seeing the magic in what's happening, the gift in what's happening, divine's hand in what's happening? How is it possible that at the same time some of us are seeing it as an amazing opportunity of growth and optimization, and some of us are falling apart? Some of us are depressed and down and want to jump off a bridge or swallow pills or numb out and smoke weed and drink alcohol. How is that possible? Put it in the chat. How is that possible? How is that possible? Right? How is that possible? Let me hear some answers. Let me see some answers there, guys. Dare to be wrong. Well, it's possible because not everyone has the same filter for how they're filtering life. We are all on a different level in our own development. The one thing that I've told the men that I work with, and we're going on year number 8 now in the Man on Fire community, where we've worked with thousands of men, my team and I. And after doing healing work for 25 plus years, I started off in Manhattan, New York. I had a chiropractic office. And the one thing that always stuck with me is I would tell people, you can't fake where you're at in your own spiritual development. You can talk a good game. You can parrot back really cool information. You can recite things that you've read in a book, and you can sound very astute, intelligent, and smart. But you can't fake where you're at in your own spirituality, in your own cycle of growth. And we are all just vibrating at a certain frequency, at a certain wavelength. And you can't fake where you're at on the level of tone, on the level of tonal scale. Where are you at? Like, what is your frequency that you're vibing at? Because that's what will determine you as the experiencer and how you are experiencing your experience. For those of you that aren't fully tracking what I'm saying, you know, different tuning forks have a different megahertz frequency. They sound differently. You change the radio station to a different frequency, you hear different music. We're all just right now vibrating at a certain frequency. And you will filter the world, just like if you want to hear a certain radio station, you tune into its exact frequency, then you hear that exact radio station. How you're seeing, how you're experiencing, how you're witnessing what's happening in your life right now, whether it's a tragedy or whether it's a gift, is in relationship to where you're at in your development as a man, vibrationally. And the antidote is not that all of a sudden the government prints more money or they come up with a miracle vaccination, which, by the way, the miracle vaccine is to vaccinate your mind, but we're not going to go into that just yet. It's not about any of that. It's about your capacity, your ability, your hunger to grow yourself and grow your consciousness, up-level your tone, up-level your frequency. That is the ultimate antidote, because at a higher vibration, right? You're vibing higher. You're at a higher tone, right? We've heard of Christ consciousness, the highest tone. At the highest tone available that you can achieve, that you can get to, that you can strive for, you will experience the world differently as you climb the tonal scale, as you climb in frequency, as the harmonics of your essence starts to come more into alignment with the real you. So anyone can invite you into seeing something differently, but if your energy is resonating at a lower frequency, it will just be a very short-lived borrowing of a perspective that momentarily might have created some form of liberation for you, but you'll dive back down to where you're vibing at. So what's the antidote? The antidote is you as a man must be willing to grow. You as a man must be willing to invest your time in shifting, in changing, in growing, in evolving, in up-leveling your frequency. And a bunch of you are like, how do I do that? How do I do that, David? How do I do that? Do I read it in a book? Do I get it from one of your podcasts or Facebook Lives? Do I go to a seminar? How do I do that? I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm going to tell you that it's available to everybody equally. God plays no favorites. We all have the capacity and the ability to grow and evolve. Now, part of the way we do that is we shed the ego. Part of the way we do that is we take that path, that journey, the road less traveled by Robert Frost. We take that path of more resistance. We take that path of going into the tension, going into the discomfort, because many of us, we don't like the heat, right? You just saw I turned off the heat. I don't want heat. We don't like to be uncomfortable. But that is where your growth begins. And I was sharing with the men in my community the other night on our Monday night call. I had about 100 guys on the call. And I was sharing with them, maybe 12, 13, 14 years ago, most of my decision-making process, I would decide things based on where's the ease, where's the flow, where's it effortless. And I would, let me do that. That's comfortable. That's ease. That's flow. And what I shared with them is that I don't make those decisions anymore. In fact, what I do is, if I don't want to do something, unless I have an absolute heart and soul knowing not to do something, meaning I'm receiving information beyond the mind, I just have a knowing, right? You guys have sometimes knowings, gut, visceral instinct, right? We all have this intuitive ability to just know things. We don't know why we know, we just know that we know. And in that world, naturally, it's important that you honor your knowing. But what I'm sharing is, if you don't have a knowing about something, you've most likely been wired as a man to go into, well, where's the ease? Where's the comfort? And what I'm sharing is that I changed that about 12 years ago for myself, where I said, well, what's the thing I don't want to do? Because that's the thing I must do. Right? I've heard Tony Robbins talk about that. If you can't, you must. Because that's where the growth is. That's where the resiliency is. That's where you learn to improvise, overcome, and adapt. That's where you grow and you flex the muscle of facing the discomfort, facing the heat, facing the tension. Most guys back down in the face of tension. Take, for example, anyone that's overweight. It's like as soon as there's tension it gets too hot in the kitchen for you, you bail, you go back to the old eating habits. Same thing with porn, same things with masturbation, weed. It's like, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that discomfort. I don't want to feel that tension. I don't want to be uncomfortable. Let me pick the thing that will make all that go away. Let me pick the weed or the masturbation or the video games or the TV or the social media. Let me overwork. Let me zone out. Let me go into where I don't have to look at any of that. I don't have to face any of that. No. Go into that storm. Go into that tension. That's where you build resiliency. That's where you build and flex the muscle of being able to face and confront anything. I'll tell you, one of the main things that's missing with a man today is his inability to confront things in his life, his inability to face the things that he knows he's avoiding, whether it's your taxes, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your relationship with a child, with a parent. There's something you're avoiding because you don't like tension. But that's where the growth is. So coming back to what we were discussing today about resilience in tough times, there will always be tough times. If it's not COVID, it will be something else. It will be an economic collapse, political turmoil, more militant rules, world wars, another plague. There will always be tough times. The question is, who will you be in the face of these tough times? And for those of you tuning in late, what we're discussing is that we have the ability as a man to choose a life of growth. And we've heard, Tony talk about this and Maslow, the different human needs. And most of us are just playing at the lower levels, meeting that need for certainty, meeting that need for uncertainty and variety, meeting that need for significance, want to be special, unique, stand out, be important, pay attention to me. And most of us are meeting that need for connection, superficial connection, right? But the juice and why we're here as men is to meet the need for growth. Growth and service, growth and contribution, growth because that's who we were born to be. We were born, guys, in case you forgot, we were born to be masculine leaders. We were born to come home into the remembrance of who we are. We were born to realign with God. We came from God. We came from God's love. We were born to come back to this remembrance. We were born to step into our masculine leadership. But you go through a period of life where you go into your forgetting. You've had hurts, you've had wounds, you've had traumas if you've listened to some of my lives. And that's where we forget. And thus begins the journey of your life, where you begin the walk, the steps to take the path of rediscovering who you truly are. But most men don't get there because they're trapped in their ego. They're trapped in the earthly possessions of wanting to have that bigger house and that nicer car and more jewelry, another vacation, more, because I don't feel like I'm enough inside. And you can't compensate for that. You can't get away from that. There's only one way. You have to face and feel what you keep running from. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we have a sacred opportunity in front of us as men to accept the courageous journey of choosing to grow ourselves, to shed all of who we're not, to make room for all of who we are. We have a sacred opportunity in front of us to allow our soul to prevail over our personality and our ego and our identity. We have this sacred invitation to truly discover who we are and live into the congruence, the alignment, the authenticity of the real version of us that God made us to be. We have the ability to have passion, power, and purpose in our life. We have the ability to live into our true and our full potential. And from that place, no matter what life brings to you, you as the experiencer experiencing these different experiences can have a different filter for what's happening. Just like world-class poker players, they could have a horrible hand, but they could be resilient. They could say, well, this is the hand I was dealt. I couldn't control that, but I could control how I play my hand. And you, as a man, can also control how you play your hand in life. You can control who you show up as, how you show up. And the way to do that is to choose the path of growth. Choose to grow yourself as a man, doing things differently, thinking differently, getting out of the mundane, breaking free of the life of complacency, bland, fair, average, good, okay. No. You, sir, were born for extraordinary, and you, sir, were born for phenomenal. And anything less than that, you've been lied to, and you've sold yourself on that lie. And yes, as one of the brothers comments, we are all born a little bit differently. Yeah, but we all have equal rite of passage to remember who we are and to rise into our true potential. All of us. And this is why I'm so passionate about Man on Fire. Because we have put together a community of men that are taking a stand for one another. A stand to help a man remember who he is. To help a man reclaim his resiliency, reclaim his authenticity, get out of his head, get into his heart, and up-level himself in the different domains of his life so he's showing up more powerfully in his marriage, his health and his wealth, his career and his mission and his purpose. We teach men how to get out of their head and how to drop into their heart. We teach you how to become available to yourself, loving the man you see in the mirror, how to become available to your children and to your wife. This is what we're showing men how to do, how to take down those walls. Just like so many of you reach out to us, how do I take down her walls? How do I take down her walls? Start with your walls. Start with your walls, right? Like one of the men in our community, David S. He owns a concrete company, and he joined Man on Fire because he said, I realized that after being in the concrete industry for so long, I've also put up concrete walls around my heart. And by doing so, you're not as available to your children. You're not as available to your wife. And ultimately, he said, if I continue down this path, I'm going to get a heart attack. And maybe some of you listening right now can completely relate to what I'm sharing. We've all been hurt. We've all put up walls. And those walls are disconnecting us from feeling. Those walls are disconnecting us from being more intimate with our family. Those walls are keeping us in our head. Those walls are making us go out there and try to crush it in business to try to compensate for the fact that we feel inadequate or not good enough. And we're attaching to external sources for validation. It won't work. What's going to work is you coming back into your body, you coming back into your heart, you coming back into the remembrance of who you are. You up-leveling yourself, up-leveling your vibration, you growing yourself, you becoming resilient, you being able to improvise, overcome, adapt, you being able to see the magic in the synchronicities in the divine order of life. You being able to have a greater amount of emotions so you have more leverage for change. You being able to recapture the innocence and the playfulness of the little boy inside of you. You being able to feel vital and alive. You being able to command your mind. This is what it's about. This is what Man on Fire is all about. For those of you that are considering looking into one of our coaching programs, this is what you'd be getting involved with. Is getting support, getting challenged, and being held accountable to the real you. So you could do it on your own. You could try to be that lone wolf, and you might get there, but you also might waste a shitload of time. And for those of you that are listening to me right now, my words are resonating with you, and you'd like to explore if one of our coaching programs is the next best step for you to start making change, for you to start making progress, for you to start growing in your life, you can apply for a free discovery call with one of our coaches. Now, let me be very, very, very clear. The call is not for every man. We can't take thousands of calls. The call is for the man that is truly ready to invest in himself. Yes, monetarily. Yes, his time. Yes, his energy. And you are done playing small, shrinking, contracting, and hiding the real version of you. It's not for the guy that wants to complain or thinks he's getting a free coaching call with some free advice and a magical genie is going to doink you over the head with his wand and then your life just all of a sudden becomes incredible. It doesn't work that way. It works by you being willing to do the work and you being willing to be seen and be vulnerable and visible, where you join a community where you won't be able to shrink, you won't be able to hide, you won't be able to contract. You'll be supported, challenged, and held accountable to the real you. Naturally, depending upon which coaching program you enter into, there's higher levels of support, challenge, and accountability. For those of you that are not ready for that, and you're just into the information gathering phase, great. Keep following me on different social platforms and gobble up a lot of what I'm sharing. And as it starts to feel more right for you and you are getting the hunger to want to explore one of our programs, great. Then apply at that time. For those of you that truly can't make an investment in yourself right now, you're having trouble paying your rent, it's simply not the right time for you. Unless you're willing to get resourceful and figure out a way to make that happen, please don't apply at this time. For those of you that are thinking, well, why is it only for the guys that have money? It's not. I'm here every week for the past 3+ years on many social platforms offering up my free services. From podcasts to YouTube videos to Facebook videos to Instagram videos. I'm all over, constantly speaking to you guys as a service to give back to the community. And yes, my company has workshops that cost money, whether it's $47 or $97. And yes, we have coaching programs that go anywhere from $2,000 into the 6 figures. That's how it works. And if you're somebody that is not ready to invest in yourself, please don't apply for the call. I respectfully request that so that we can honor your time, you can honor our time, and we can free up the calls for the guys that really need it and are ready at that level. So, with that said, for those of you that have tuned in late, we took a deep dive into the fire discussing being resilient in tough times. And a lot of that is your capacity to be able to grow yourself where you can handle anything and everything that's coming your way. And based on where you're at in your own development, based on where you're at in your own tonality, in your own frequency, in your own vibration, that is what's determining how you are experiencing the world. And as I shared in the very beginning, you are nothing more than an experiencer having experiences. And how you experience the world is based on you being the experiencer. And for you to have a different experience and experience things differently, then the experiencer, that being you, has to change. So as you grow, what once might have been something you try to get away from, it's a problem that you hide from, as you grow, you might say, bring it on. I eat problems for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. Bring it on, because I know problems were only designed to help me grow as a man and stretch me and help me evolve. And as you grow, you might see the very same thing that you once tried to get away from and then once became a problem. You might see it as something that is a gift and a blessing. And thank God this is happening in my life now. My God, it couldn't be more divinely timed, right? Like so many of you, for example, with COVID, when COVID hit, so many of you, went into, this is horrible. What am I going to do? I'm going to lose my job. I'm not going to be able to pay the mortgage on my house. But then that same person who initially felt that way, all of a sudden he loses his job, but then he starts the business that he's wanted to start for the past 10 years, but he was too much of a chicken to do so. And this forced his hand, and then he learned how resilient he truly is. And now all of a sudden what he once saw as a problem, he now sees as an opportunity. How's that possible? It's called growth. And for those of you that are ready to grow, for those of you that are ready to be challenged and held to the fire, held to the remembrance of who you are and what you're made of, what you're built for, you want to be in a community that will challenge you in that way, then check out Man on Fire. Go to manonfirerising.com, click on apply for a discovery call based on how you answer the questions, and yes, based on whether or not you have enough time, you have enough energy, and you're ready to invest in yourself financially because you're valuing your growth high enough that you're ready to invest in you, because a man is always willing to invest in things outside of himself, whether it's the car, the watch, the weed, the alcohol, the strip clubs, or maybe it's doing something nice for somebody else. Good for you. But guess what? Invest in yourself. Be clear on what puts you into debt and what's an investment in your growth. Be clear on that. What's going to ultimately have a return for you in your life and what is only draining you energetically and monetarily. And for most men that say, I don't have the money, I don't have the money, I don't have the money, that man needs to look in the mirror and be honest with himself about, well, where is he spending his money? And I know there's exceptions to the rules. I know many of you bust your butt to provide for your family, and God bless you. I have immense amount of respect for you. And I want you to know that there's always possibility for you to go into more of your potential. And I discovered Man on Fire wasn't until my early 40s. So many of you, over time will truly blossom into, grow into another layer, another level of your potential, and truly discover your deeper mission and your deeper purpose. But you also at some point have to let go of the trapeze. You have to be willing to let go of control, let go of comfort, let go of victimhood, let go of blaming. And you have to surrender into faith. The gap, letting go, knowing that something better will grab a hold of you. All right, guys, it has been an honor. It has been a privilege to share on today's live with you about resilience in tough times. It is your Man on Fire mentor, David Mailer. I will see you guys on the next podcast, on the next Facebook Live, on the next YouTube Live, on the next Instagram Live. And be kind to yourself. Touch your heart. Tell yourself, I love you. Put your focus on things that you're truly grateful for. We are all blessed to be able to take up oxygen, to be able to breathe, to be able to take in life, inspiration. If you're struggling right now and you need support, reach out to us. And just know that no one will be harder on you than you. Do your best to have empathy and compassion for yourself. And if you've really been hard on yourself and you're carrying these twin brothers of shame and guilt, just put them gently down. And know that no matter what you've done that you're not proud of, it's important that you forgive yourself. And the faster you forgive yourself, the faster you can give the real version of you back to the world. All right, guys, so much love. It's your Man on Fire mentor, David Mailer, saying I will see you soon. Bye for now. Bye, guys.